Well, it's November 24th, and I went out to Napa to pick up the coho salmon eggs. Big Creek Hatchery, run by the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, is on Big Creek in Napa, and this is the barrier dam that diverts the salmon into the raceway, which you can just see there behind the cedar. So salmon come into the hatchery when they're sexually mature, and they come into the raceway and they're sorted out by the hatchery crew in a spawning shed, which you can see in the background there, when they're ready to spawn. In the background you can see the rearing ponds for the young fry after they've hatched, and the egg building in the background too. Let's go over to the hatchery and see what that's like. Inside the hatchery building, workers are working in almost complete darkness, counting the eggs, sorting them for delivery to other systems, like Astoria High School. They're kept in the dark because that mimics the stream conditions under the gravel. Light is not good for salmon eggs, particularly sunlight. These eggs are fairly hardy though. They're in the eyed egg stage, which means they can be handled and transferred. I brought the eggs to the hatchery inside this aerated bucket. Here you can see how many temperature units they have at this date. More on that later. They're kept inside wet burlap. They're able to do fine. They get plenty of air in that, as long as it's not too long. They're transferred in the back of my pickup truck and kept at the ambient temperature, which is somewhere in the mid 40 degrees Fahrenheit. There you can see the eggs. Now let's process them. Somebody smarter than me figured out that if you pour eggs into a 12-inch trough and you count how many eggs fit in the trough, which is a little tricky to do when you only have one hand because you're filming, if you count how many eggs are in a 12-inch trough, that should be pretty consistent with the diameter of the egg. It allows us to count eggs by their size using volume. Watch and you'll see what I mean. A 12-inch trough is exactly 30.5 centimeters. Counting eggs in this manner is known as the von Baer method. And it turns out that 1,000 milliliters of eggs is roughly 2,500 eggs at that size. I call this material black plastic top ramen because it looks like top ramen noodles. This top ramen material, or matrix, simulates the gravel, creating spaces for the eggs. The trays of eggs are placed in the incubator with a flow-through water at a constant temperature of 12 degrees Celsius because we have spring-fed water. The water trickles down through the trays, barely visible here in the back of the trays. Remember how I said that salmon eggs don't like sunlight? UV damage can cause DNA damage, or UV light can cause DNA damage, so it's very important to keep a tarp over the top of this incubator, which is underneath the hatchery. So that's the tray incubation. Now let's see how the deep matrix works.